Captain Jack Hawkins stood at the command deck of the Horizon, Earth's most advanced exploration vessel. The year was 2087, and humanity had finally ventured beyond their solar system. The vastness of space stretched before them, no longer just a dream, but a reality they now navigated. "Sir, we're detecting an anomaly at coordinates 227 Mark IV, said Lieutenant Olivia Winters, her eyes fixed on the scanner. "It's like nothing we've ever seen before." Jack moved to her station, studying the readings. "Energy signature. Off the charts, sir. And it's moving. Deliberately." The bridge fell silent. After centuries of wondering, of searching the stars for signs of other intelligence, the moment had arrived without warning during a routine exploration mission. "Open all communication channels," Jack ordered, his voice steady despite his racing heart. "And alert Earth Command." The anomaly grew larger on their view screen, resolving into a vessel that defied human engineering principles. It shimmered with an iridescent hull that seemed to bend light around it. "They're hailing us, sir," reported Communications Officer Ryan Blake. Jack straightened his uniform. "Put them through." The view screen flickered, and the crew of the Horizon collectively gasped. The being on screen had pale blue skin, 4 arms, and eyes that seemed to reflect the cosmos itself. "Greetings, humans of Earth," the alien said in perfect English, having apparently analyzed their communications. "I am Ambassador Zortal of the Valyrian Confederation. We have been observing your species for some time." Jack stepped forward. "I am Captain Jack Hawkins of the Earth vessel Horizon. We come in peace and with respect." The Valyrian's mouth formed what might have been a smile. "As do we, Captain. Your species has progressed rapidly. We believe it is time for formal contact." Over the next several hours, the humans learned that the galaxy was far from empty. The Valyrians were part of a galactic council comprising over 30 spacefaring civilizations. Most lived in harmony, sharing knowledge and resources. But peace was not universal. "The Drakari Dominion has subjugated dozens of species," Zortal explained during a meeting in the Horizon's conference room. "They expand their territory through conquest, believing in their inherent superiority." "And Earth?" Jack asked. "Are we in danger?" The Valyrian hesitated. "The Drakari will eventually notice you. But you may have unexpected advantages." "What do you mean?" "Your species evolved on what we classify as a death world. High gravity, atmospheric toxins, extreme temperature variations, dangerous predators. Most sentient races develop on much more hospitable planets." Dr. Maya Green, the ship's xenobiologist, leaned forward. "You're saying we're physically stronger than most aliens?" "Not just physically," Zortal replied. "Your bodies can endure conditions that would kill most council species. Your recuperative abilities are remarkable." Lieutenant Winters accidentally knocked over her water glass, moving with reflexes that made the Valyrian delegation flinch in surprise. "Perhaps a demonstration," Zortal suggested. In the ship's gym, Olivia lifted weights that made the aliens murmur in astonishment. Jack ran on a treadmill for an hour without tiring. Dr. Green showed the visitors medical records of humans who had survived injuries that would be fatal to the Valyrians. "The Council will offer Earth protected status," Zortal said afterward, "as a vulnerable race requiring our guidance and protection." Jack exchanged looks with his officers. "With respect, Ambassador, what we've shown you today is just average for humans, and we've survived on our death world for thousands of years without help. The Council's protection would guarantee your safety from the Drakari," Zortal insisted. "Or," Jack suggested, "you could accept us as equals who might help defend against these Drakari." The Valyrians looked uncertain, even fearful. "What aren't you telling us?" Jack pressed. Zortal's voice lowered. "Captain, your people don't just survive hardship. Your history shows you thrive on challenge and conflict in ways that terrify peaceful species. If the Drakari provoke humanity to war..." The alien shuddered. "The galaxy may never be the same." 5 years after first contact, Humanity had established several colony worlds in neighboring star systems. Most aliens still regarded humans with a mixture of fascination and unease. The Galactic Council continued to debate humanity's status, while Earth's governments prepared for the possibility of conflict. That possibility became reality when the Drakari Dominion launched their first attack on New Dakota, Earth's furthest colony. Major Sam Donovan watched from the hastily built command bunker as alien ships darkened the sky. He was a career soldier with 20 years of combat experience, but nothing had prepared him for war against an advanced alien empire. "They're landing troops 10 miles south of Liberty Settlement," reported Sergeant Lily Chen, pointing to holographic displays showing enemy movements. "Standard Drakari tactic. They always establish a forward base before advancing." Sam nodded. "Then we hit them before they're ready." "How many colonists volunteered?" "About 300, Lily answered. "Most have hunting experience, but they're not soldiers." "They're humans defending their homes," Sam said. "That'll have to be enough." The Drakari forces were imposing. Tall, reptilian warriors with natural armor and advanced weapons. Their commander, War General Vexnar, had conquered 6 worlds without a single defeat. He expected New Dakota to fall within days. He was wrong. Sam divided his forces into small teams, using the colony's rugged terrain to their advantage. While the Drakari established their base using rigid military doctrine, human defenders struck from hidden positions, disappearing before the aliens could respond effectively. "Impossible," Vexnar hissed when his 4th patrol failed to return. "Their weapons are primitive. Their armor is negligible. How do they continue fighting?" His science officer studied battlefield recordings. "The humans are adapting to our tactics, and they're operating in environmental conditions that should incapacitate them." The New Dakota colony had been established in a mineral-rich region with high gravity and oxygen levels lower than Earth standard. The settlers had adapted to these conditions over several years. The Drakari, despite their technology, found themselves weakening under the strain. "They're not stopping to rest," observed a bewildered Drakari commander. "Those same humans have been fighting for 3 consecutive planetary rotations." Sam knew their only advantage was endurance. Humans could push through pain, fatigue, and hunger longer than their enemies expected. When Drakari forces finally located the main human settlement, they were met by defenders who refused to surrender despite overwhelming odds. At Liberty Pass, a narrow canyon leading to the colony's main habitation dome, Sam positioned his remaining forces. "They outnumber us 5-1, Lily said, checking her rifle. "And their armor is still stronger than anything we have." Sam checked the makeshift barricades. "But they're tired. They're frustrated, and they've never fought an enemy that gets stronger when cornered." The Battle of Liberty Pass became the stuff of legend. For 3 days, 200 humans held off 1,000 Drakari troops. The aliens, accustomed to enemies who surrendered when defeat seemed inevitable, couldn't comprehend the human refusal to yield. Sam led a final counterattack when Drakari forces were halfway through the pass. Instead of retreating from the superior force, the humans charged directly at the enemy. The psychological impact of prey suddenly becoming predator shattered Drakari morale. War General Vexnar, watching from orbit, ordered a full retreat. His reports to the Dominion contained an unprecedented warning. "These humans do not fight like civilized beings. They ignore pain. They function without rest. When defeat is certain, they fight harder instead of surrendering. They are not merely soldiers, they are something else entirely." The Drakari retreated, but Sam knew they would return with greater numbers. As he stood among the wounded and exhausted defenders, he sent a message to Earth. "First contact with Drakari forces complete. They know we can fight. Now they need to learn we can win." News of the Battle of Liberty Pass spread quickly through the Galactic Council. Many species had suffered under Drakari conquest, but none had successfully repelled an invasion force. The Council's Science Division immediately requested permission to study human physiology to understand how such a primitive species had accomplished this feat. Dr. Natalie Cruz stepped off the transport ship onto the gleaming floor of Terrace Station, the Council's primary research facility. As Earth's leading xenobiologist, she had been chosen to work with alien scientists to explain human capabilities. "Welcome, Dr. Cruz," said the station's director, a tall, willowy being named Scyllin. "Your species has become our most fascinating subject." Natalie smiled. "I hope we can live up to the hype." The research facility buzzed with activity as scientists from a dozen species conducted tests on human volunteers. Natalie observed a group of athletes demonstrating feats of strength and endurance, while sensors recorded every biological response. "Remarkable," said Kivex, a Redarian physiologist. "Your adrenal system produces compounds that temporarily enhance your physical capabilities beyond normal limits." "We call it the fight-or-flight response," Natalie explained. "It evolved to help us survive predator encounters." "But you were the predators," countered Scyllin, displaying historical images of early humans hunting large animals. "Your species evolved not as ambush hunters, but as persistence hunters." Natalie nodded. "We couldn't outrun our prey, but we could outlast them. Humans would track animals until they collapsed from exhaustion." The alien scientists looked disturbed by this information. "That explains much," said Kivex. "Most sentient species evolved from prey animals or omnivorous foragers. The predator species that achieved sentience, like the Drakari, were ambush hunters who relied on bursts of speed and strength. Humans are the only known species to combine predatory instincts with extreme endurance," added Scyllin. "It creates a unique psychological profile." In another lab, council psychologists studied human decision-making under stress. Their findings alarmed many council members. "Unlike most species, humans become more focused when threatened," reported one researcher. "Their cognitive abilities don't diminish with fear. Sometimes they actually improve." "And their pain tolerance," added another. "We've documented humans continuing complex tasks despite injuries that would incapacitate most species." The Council's historical division found human warfare particularly disturbing. They compiled records of Earth's conflicts, showing them to a panel of alien experts. "Your world wars are beyond comprehension," said a Valyrian historian. "Entire populations mobilized for years of sustained conflict across multiple continents." Natalie didn't deny humanity's violent past. "War has been our greatest shame," she acknowledged, "but also our teacher." She guided the researchers to examine human art, literature, and philosophy that had emerged from periods of conflict. The aliens were surprised to find profound works of compassion and peace had often been created by the same species capable of terrible warfare. "This is the paradox of humanity," Natalie explained. "Our capacity for violence exists alongside our capacity for love and creation." The Council compiled their findings into a comprehensive report titled "The Physiology of Fear: Understanding Human Warriors." Its conclusion sent shockwaves through galactic society. "Humans represent a new classification of sentient life," the report stated. "Their evolution on a high-gravity death world with unique predator-prey dynamics has created a species with unparalleled physical and psychological resilience." The most controversial finding came from stress simulations. When facing impossible odds, most species eventually surrendered to preserve life. Humans often refused to yield even when defeat was certain. "They don't just fight to win," observed Scyllin during the final briefing. "They fight because struggle itself has value in their culture." As Natalie prepared to return to Earth with the report, a council elder approached her privately. "Your people terrify us," the elder admitted. "Not because you are violent. Many species are violent. What terrifies us is that you never, ever stop. But perhaps that is exactly what the galaxy needs against the Drakari." The Drakari attacks on human colonies continued for months after the Battle of Liberty Pass. Though humanity fought bravely, Earth's leaders recognized they couldn't win a prolonged war against an empire that controlled hundreds of worlds. They needed allies. Admiral William Grant, a veteran of Earth's last global conflict, led the diplomatic mission to forge a military alliance. He traveled to the neutral world of Centaurus Prime, where representatives from 7 threatened species had gathered. "The Dracari have conquered our outer worlds," said the Valyrian ambassador. "Our people are peaceful. We cannot match their military strength." The Arthosians lost 3 colony worlds last cycle, added another delegate. "Our defenses crumbled within days." William studied the aliens around the table. Each species had suffered under Dracari expansion, yet they remained divided and fearful. "Separately, we will fall," William said, his voice firm. "Together, we might stand a chance." The Tellarite representative, a small furry being, looked skeptical. "Your species has only had interstellar travel for a decade. What could you possibly teach us about fighting an enemy we've faced for centuries?" "Fresh eyes," William replied, "and a different approach to warfare." The alliance formed cautiously. Earth provided military advisors while the alien species contributed advanced technology. Commander Diana Miller was assigned to establish the first joint training facility on the moon of Helios IV. Diana watched as the first mixed-species combat units attempted to train together. The challenges were immediately apparent. The Valyrians tired quickly in combat drills. The Arthosians couldn't function in cold environments. The Tellarites struggled with human tactical concepts. "They're not getting it," said Lieutenant Frank Ortiz, Diana's second-in-command. "The Valyrians keep looking for surrender options in every scenario." Diana nodded. "They've evolved to avoid conflict. We evolved to win it." She revised the training program, adapting it to each species' strengths. Valyrians became communication specialists. Arthosians, with their perfect memories, handled logistics. Tellarites, resistant to radiation, trained for operations in hazardous environments. The Terran Doctrine, Diana called it, is about combining different capabilities. We don't all need to be frontline fighters. Some alien allies remained concerned about human methods. During a strategy session, the Valyrian commander objected to a planned assault. "This approach sacrifices too many lives," he argued. "There must be a more peaceful solution." "Against the Dracari, surrender means enslavement," Diana countered. "Sometimes fighting is the only moral choice." The training continued for weeks. Gradually, the mixed units began functioning effectively. Humans taught their allies to adapt when plans failed. The aliens taught humans to use advanced technology that amplified their natural abilities. Admiral Grant returned to inspect the progress and was impressed by what Diana had accomplished. "They're not humans," he observed, watching a joint exercise, "but they're becoming real soldiers." "Better," Diana replied. "They're becoming a team with different strengths." Their progress was tested sooner than expected. A Dracari scout force detected the training facility and launched a surprise attack. Alarms blared throughout the base as trainees rushed to defensive positions. "This isn't a drill," Diana announced over the comm system. "Remember your training. Each species to your assigned positions." The attack became the first real test of the alliance. Human soldiers led the direct defense while their alien allies provided crucial support. Valyrians coordinated communications. Arthosians operated defensive systems with perfect timing. Tellarites held positions in radiation-flooded sections where Dracari forces couldn't follow. The battle lasted 6 hours. When it ended, the Dracari had been repelled, and the alliance had its first victory. In the aftermath, Diana found a Valyrian medic treating a wounded human soldier. "Why do you fight so hard?" The Valyrian asked the injured human. "You could have retreated to safety." The soldier smiled through his pain. "Because you're worth fighting for. That's what allies do." Diana knew then that the alliance would succeed. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity's greatest strength wasn't just their ability to fight. It was their ability to inspire others to stand their ground. The Dracari High Command had never suffered multiple defeats before encountering humans. Enraged by their failures against the new alliance, they gathered their largest battle fleet. Their target, Proxima Centauri, humanity's first and most developed colony system outside Sol. General Alan Reyes received the warning from deep space sensors with grim determination. As Earth's highest-ranking military officer, he had prepared for this day since first contact. "They're coming with everything they have," he told his staff at Proxima Command. 6 dreadnoughts, 20 cruisers, and hundreds of smaller craft. "Estimated arrival?" asked his operations officer. 36 hours, Alan replied. "Evacuation is no longer possible. We fight here." The Proxima system had 3 inhabited planets with a total population of 6 million humans. Defense forces were spread thin, with only 2 battle carriers and their escort ships available. Alan contacted Earth. "The home fleet can't reach us in time. We need to hold until reinforcements arrive from our allies." The plan was desperate but clear. Delay the Drakari advance at all costs. Civilians took shelter in underground bunkers while military personnel prepared defenses. Alliance ships arrived in small groups, adding their strength to the human forces. When the Drakari fleet emerged from hyperspace, they faced a system transformed into a fortress. Automated defense platforms, minefields, and fighter squadrons formed layers of resistance. The battle began with a massive Drakari bombardment that overwhelmed the outer defenses. Their dreadnoughts pushed forward, seemingly unstoppable. Lieutenant Kelly Martinez commanded the assault ship Defiance, one of the smaller vessels in the human fleet. As the Drakari flagship broke through the defensive line, Kelly made a decision that would change the course of the battle. "We can't outgun them," she told her crew, "but we can board them." The Defiance accelerated toward the massive Drakari command ship, evading fire from its weapon batteries. The smaller human vessel latched onto the dreadnought's hull like a remora on a shark. "Boarding teams ready," reported Sergeant Paul Rivera, suited in vacuum combat armor. "But we'll have less than 30 minutes of life support in these conditions." The interior of the Drakari ship was maintained at higher temperatures and different atmospheric composition than humans could comfortably tolerate. Still, Kelly led her team through the breach point. "Remember your training," she reminded them. "They're stronger, but we're faster, and we can handle these conditions longer than they expect." The boarding action shocked the Drakari. Their warriors were physically superior to humans, with natural armor and greater strength. But they had never faced enemies who willingly fought in toxic environments. Kelly's team pushed through corridors filled with noxious gases that had been released as a defense measure. Their combat suits filtered the worst effects, but the air that leaked in burned their lungs. "Keep moving," Kelly ordered, ignoring the pain. "We need their command center." The Drakari defenders fell back in disbelief as the humans continued advancing despite injuries that should have stopped them. When the boarding party reached the bridge, they encountered the ship's commander, a veteran warrior named Krogar. "How are you still fighting?" he demanded as Kelly's team secured the bridge. "Your life signs show severe trauma and toxin exposure." Kelly removed her damaged helmet, breathing the painful alien atmosphere directly. "That's the difference between us," she said through gritted teeth. "You fight until it hurts. We fight through the pain." With the Drakari flagship captured, Kelly's team accessed the enemy communication systems. They transmitted false orders to the invasion fleet, creating confusion that allowed the Alliance forces to regroup. The Battle of Proxima Centauri raged for 3 days. Though outnumbered, the defenders held their positions with remarkable tenacity. Alliance ships arrived in growing numbers, turning the tide. When the Drakari finally retreated, they left behind damaged ships and thousands of prisoners. Among the captured data was vital intelligence about Drakari command structure and base locations. In the medical bay after the battle, Kelly received treatment for chemical burns and radiation exposure. "Was it worth it?" asked the Valyrian doctor treating her. Kelly looked at the tactical display, showing the Drakari fleet in retreat. "They came to exterminate us," she said simply. "Instead, they learned to fear us." Yes, it was worth it. After the Battle of Proxima Centauri, the war entered a new phase. Captain Lisa Blackwood sat in a darkened briefing room at Alliance headquarters, watching footage of Drakari prisoners. As a former psychological operations specialist, she noticed something others had missed. "They're afraid," she told the gathered officers. "Not just concerned or cautious. They're experiencing genuine fear." Admiral William Grant leaned forward. "Can we use that?" Lisa nodded. "The Drakari have conquered through superior technology and strength, but they've never faced an enemy who keeps fighting after taking damage that would kill most species." She displayed her analysis on the main screen. "Their society values physical dominance above all else, yet humans can endure conditions they find unbearable. We can turn their own psychology against them." The war of perception began with small, calculated operations. Lisa developed techniques that exploited the natural sensory differences between humans and Drakari. The reptilian species had poor night vision and relied on heat signatures to navigate darkness. They also had sensitive hearing designed to detect prey. "Complete silence disturbs them," Lisa explained to Special Forces teams, "and they're deeply uncomfortable in cold environments where they can't detect heat signatures." Major Eric Johnson led the first Ghost Squad mission into Drakari territory. His team used modified stealth technology borrowed from Valyrian allies, combined with human endurance in extreme conditions. The target was a Drakari forward base on an ice moon. The temperature hovered around -60 degrees, painful for humans, but nearly lethal for the cold-blooded Drakari, who required heated suits to function. "Move only when necessary," Eric instructed his team as they approached the base. "Our advantage is that we can function in these temperatures much longer than they can." The squad disabled the base's external sensors and cut power to the heating systems. Instead of a direct assault, they waited silently in the darkness as the temperature inside the base dropped. "What's happening?" asked a Drakari guard, his breath visible in the increasingly cold air. "Systems failure," replied his commander. "Backup power should engage." But the backup never came online. The humans had disabled it too. As cold crept through the facility, the Drakari became sluggish and disoriented. Their infrared vision showed no intruders. The humans had developed suits that masked their heat signatures. All the Drakari heard was occasional sounds in distant corridors, footsteps that appeared and vanished. "They're here," whispered one guard. "The ghost humans." Eric's team moved through the darkened base, disabling weapons and communications. They left mysterious markings on walls, symbols that meant nothing but would become associated with human raids. Psychological warfare relied on building a legend. By the time the squad confronted the base commander, most of the Drakari were too terrified to resist. "Tell your leaders what happened here," Eric said as he secured vital intelligence files. "Tell them nowhere is safe." The Ghost Squad's reputation spread rapidly through the Drakari forces. Soldiers refused assignments to remote outposts. Some bases surrendered upon receiving the symbols associated with human operations. The most spectacular success came when Eric's team infiltrated the occupied world of Parthia. The native Parthians had been enslaved by the Drakari for decades. The Ghost Squad didn't attack the Drakari directly but used psychological tactics to undermine their control. Mysterious incidents occurred throughout the main city. Drakari commanders would wake to find human footprints circling their beds, proof that enemies had stood watching them while they slept. Communication systems broadcast the sounds of human laughter. Security cameras showed glimpses of humans who disappeared when investigated. After 3 weeks, the Drakari garrison commander requested reinforcements. None came. The Dominion was stretched too thin fighting the Alliance on multiple fronts. On the 27th day, the commander awoke to find his personal shield generator disassembled beside his bed with a message. "We could have killed you every night. Today, you leave." The entire Drakari force evacuated without firing a shot. When the Parthians emerged from their homes, they found only Eric's small team standing in the central plaza. "How did you defeat them?" asked a Parthian elder. "You are so few." Eric smiled. "We didn't defeat them with weapons. We defeated them with fear, the fear they've used against others for centuries." Lisa's strategy changed the nature of the war. The Drakari, who had never known fear, now experienced it constantly. Their empire, built on intimidation, began to crumble from within. The war lasted 3 years. Across dozens of worlds, the Alliance pushed back against Drakari forces. The tide had turned, with former Drakari subject species rising up to join the fight. Now, the final battle loomed, an assault on the Drakari homeworld itself. Colonel Peter Hayes stood on the bridge of the Alliance flagship Guardian, watching as the combined fleet prepared for the jump to Drakari Prime. As one of the architects of the campaign, he carried the weight of millions of lives on his shoulders. "All ships report ready, Colonel," said his executive officer. "The Valyrian contingent requests final confirmation of the battle plan." Peter nodded. "Remind them, we're not here for revenge. We're here to end the war." The fleet consisted of ships from 27 species, the largest coalition in galactic history. At its core were human vessels, though they were outnumbered by their allies. This was by design. Peter had insisted that the liberation of the galaxy should be a shared victory. The jump to Drakari Prime revealed a heavily fortified system. Orbital platforms, minefields, and the remains of the once mighty Dominion fleet guarded the homeworld. "They've committed everything to this defense," observed an Arthosian captain over the comm. "There will be no surrender." "Perhaps," Peter replied. "But every being can change, even the Drakari." The battle began with a carefully coordinated attack. Alliance forces had learned to combine their unique strengths. Valyrian shield technology protected human assault craft. Tellerate sensors guided Arthosian precision strikes. Species that had once barely communicated now fought as one. As the orbital defenses crumbled, Peter led the ground assault. Unlike previous Drakari battles, the fighting was desperate but not fanatical. Many Drakari troops, having heard stories of human ferocity, expected to be slaughtered if defeated. Instead, Peter established clear rules of engagement. "We accept all surrenders," he ordered his forces. "We treat prisoners with dignity. We show them what humanity truly stands for." The approach shocked many Drakari, who had been raised to believe that mercy was weakness. When a group of warriors surrendered and were given medical treatment alongside Alliance wounded, word spread quickly through Drakari ranks. The fighting lasted 3 days before Peter's forces reached the Dominion High Command bunker. Inside, the Drakari leadership prepared for a final stand. Grand Warlord Kravenach, ruler of the Dominion for 50 years, awaited the humans he had underestimated. When Peter entered the command center, he came alone and unarmed. "You would face me without weapons?" Kravenach asked, his voice a low rumble. "I come to accept your surrender," Peter replied, "not to kill you." The warlord studied him. "After all we have done to your worlds, to your allies, you offer peace. Justice, not vengeance," Peter said. "Your people will join the galactic community as equals, not conquerors." After centuries of expansion through force, the Drakari Dominion formally surrendered. The terms were firm but fair. War criminals would face justice, but there would be no collective punishment of the Drakari people. In the following months, the Galactic Council reorganized. Humans, once viewed as primitives, now held key positions in the new peacekeeping forces. Peter oversaw the establishment of the Galactic Peacekeeping Force, built on human principles of proportional response and respect for all sentient life. Former enemies studied human combat philosophies not to become more deadly, but to understand the balance humans maintain between ferocity and restraint. "The paradox of humanity," a Valyrian philosopher noted, is that their greatest strength was never their ability to fight, but their ability to choose when not to. 1 year after the surrender, Peter visited a school on Drakari Prime. Children who had once been raised to become warriors were now being taught cooperation and peaceful coexistence. As he walked through the playground, he noticed a small Drakari child being teased by older children. Without thinking, Peter stepped between them. "That's enough," he said firmly. The older children scattered, recognizing the human uniform. The young Drakari looked up at Peter with confusion. "Why would you protect me?" the child asked. "I am Drakari." Peter knelt down. "Because that's what humans do. We protect those who need it, regardless of who they are." 20 years after the fall of the Drakari Dominion, the galaxy had changed in ways few could have imagined. The Alliance had evolved into the Galactic Confederation, with hundreds of member species working together in harmony. On the anniversary of the final battle, a special ceremony was held on Earth to honor those who had shaped this new era. Admiral Peter Hayes, now gray-haired but still standing tall, watched as representatives from across the galaxy gathered in the Grand Hall of Unity in New Geneva. As the ceremony's guest of honor, he felt a mixture of pride and humility. "It feels strange," he said to Diana Miller, now a general herself, "being celebrated for winning a war." Diana nodded. "We're not celebrating the war. We're celebrating what came after." The hall fell silent as Zor-Tal, the Valyrian who had first contacted humanity decades ago, approached the podium. Now serving as the Confederation's High Chancellor, he had become one of humanity's strongest advocates. 20 years ago, the galaxy stood divided. Zor-Tal began. Species fought alone against the Dominion and fell one by one. Then humanity entered the stars. The audience listened intently as he recounted the key moments of the conflict: the Battle of Liberty Pass, the Alliance formation, the Ghost Squads, and finally, the peace that followed victory. "Many feared humans when they first arrived," Zor-Tal continued. "Their physical capabilities, their endurance, their willingness to face pain and death. We called them Death Whirlers and thought them dangerous." Peter smiled slightly, remembering the early days when aliens had watched humans with caution. "We were right to recognize their strength," said Zor-Tal, "but wrong about what made them truly remarkable." After the ceremony, Peter walked through the Remembrance Garden, where monuments honored those lost in the conflict. He stopped at a particular statue, a human and Drakari child standing together, based on his encounter after the war. A voice spoke behind him. "An appropriate symbol, Admiral." Peter turned to find Kravnak, the former Drakari warlord. Age had softened his features, but he remained imposing. "I didn't expect to see you here," Peter said. "I would not miss honoring those who taught my people a better way," Kravnak replied, "including my greatest enemy." The two walked together through the garden, former adversaries now working toward the same goals. "My grandchildren attend school with humans now," Kravnak said. "They cannot imagine our species ever being at war." "That's the greatest victory," Peter replied. They paused at the garden's center, where a simple plaque bore the words, "Peace requires more courage than war." "We believed strength came from conquest," said Kravnak. "Humans showed us it comes from connection." Later that evening, a smaller gathering took place at the home of Jack Hawkins, the captain who had made first contact. Though retired, he remained an important figure in human-alien relations. The survivors of that historic meeting, Jack, Olivia, and several others, reminisced about how far things had come. "Did you ever imagine it would turn out this way?" Olivia asked Jack as they watched humans and aliens mingling comfortably. "Not in my wildest dreams," Jack admitted. "I was just hoping we wouldn't start an interstellar incident." A young Drakari diplomat approached them, bowing respectfully. "Captain Hawkins, it is an honor. I studied your first contact in our academy." Jack smiled. "And what lesson did they teach about it?" "That appearances deceive," replied the diplomat. "The Valyrians looked peaceful but feared conflict too much. The Drakari looked fearsome but were trapped by their own aggression." And humans, prompted Olivia. "Humans looked weak but contained multitudes," the diplomat said. "You taught the galaxy that true strength lies in balance, the courage to fight when necessary and the wisdom to seek peace when possible." As night fell over Earth, ships from 100 worlds illuminated the sky in a display of unity. Aboard the observation platform, Peter Hayes looked up at the stars that had once seemed so distant and dangerous. A child tugged at his sleeve, a young human girl with curious eyes. Admiral Hayes, is it true that humans are the most fearsome warriors in the galaxy? Peter knelt beside her. We can be, he said gently. But our greatest strength was learning when not to be warriors at all. The girl considered this. Then what are we now? Peter smiled, gesturing to the diverse gathering around them. We're bridge builders, and that little one is the hardest job of all.